Pet trends. There's a lot of them these days. I want to talk about love it or leave it. Is it something that you should focus on, or should you leave it behind? Or if you're going to leave it behind, how can we adjust it so that you love it? I'm Dr. Bamonte. If this is the first time that we are having any connection, I have been a veterinarian for a little over 11 years, and I really like taking a non-traditional approach. It's something that I didn't realize I was doing until I took a step back and realized that sometimes is what you and your pet need. So let's get into it. So, pet trends. And some of these I went to my Instagram following and said, hey, what are some common pet trends that you kind of want to know? Like, should you love it or leave it? And so these are all based on responses from you guys. And if we love this, we'll do it again. Supplements was the first one. And I get it. There are so many pet supplements out there. Which ones are worth it and which ones aren't? And so, what I'm not going to say is that supplements are something to leave behind. I think there is a potential to love them. The big thing with supplements is, well, there's actually a few, is one, are we doing it to replace poor lifestyle habits for our pets? Similar to us. It is not an excuse or a reason to maybe not have your pet lose weight, to not feed as good as food that is accessible to you, whether that is literally accessible because of where you live, whether that is due to finances, beliefs, pet preferences, your preferences, what have you. So it is not an excuse to not do as good as possible. Now, I do think supplements can be a love it if they're done intentionally. And the reason I say that is I commonly see that there is a very popular joint supplement out there. And I think that the premise behind it, the goal behind it is wonderful. However, when you look at the ingredients, in my opinion, this is a non-traditional opinion, is that it is diluting the purpose of that supplement. So when you have a joint supplement that is so supposed to help joint health, maybe decrease a little bit of joint inflammation. Now, joint health is not going to be, the pain is not going to be affected by these supplements. Now, the supplements can influence inflammation, which maybe can influence pain. I have a podcast episode on that. Really invite you to listen to that. But if the ingredients are diluting the purpose of it, then I think it's a leave it supplement. If these supplements are packed with molasses and rice flour and sugary ingredients that really convert to, that are very starchy, that convert to sugar, I think it's a leave it situation. I think having these supplements be as clean as possible. Now, depending on the consistency of the supplement, there may be some of these ingredients that help make these, if it's like a chew, there's going to be ingredients in there to help hold them together. But I'm for supplements. I love them if they are done intentionally. So when you're buying a supplement, think about what I want you to think about to know if it's a love it or leave it. What is the purpose of this supplement? And whatever is the purpose of it, which is what it's going to be labeled as, turn it over. Do the ingredients match that? Do they align with that? If it is for inflammation, are there ingredients in there that help with inflammation? Or are there ingredients in there that can help maybe propel inflammation? If it is a multivitamin, I'm not the biggest fan of general over-the-counter multivitamins, typically, now not all of them, because when you look at what they're labeled as, I see a lot of pet owners grabbing them when they're home cooking for their dog, and they're like, well, my dog's on a multivitamin. That multivitamin is not doing what you think it's doing. And so that multivitamin, there's another popular multivitamin that is out there that does have multiple aspects of it. I wouldn't consider it a multivitamin. I think it should be labeled as a multi-supplement because there's actually not that many vitamins in it. So being really intentional of what is the purpose of this supplement and what is it doing, and do the ingredients back that up? That's when I think it's a love it. And if not, it is a leave it. So it is not also an excuse for your dog to be overweight. It is not an excuse, well, I give my dog this supplement so that I can do this. The next one is raw feeding. Ooh, this is a hot topic. Man, buckle up for this one. So is it a love it or leave it? Again, I'm gonna play both sides here because I can play both sides. So I am for a leave it if you are doing raw food that is not formulated to be balanced and if and when that commonly happens is when you're going to the grocery store and you're going to the meat section as if you were to purchase meat for yourself and groceries for yourself, and you're putting in your dog's bowl chicken breast with some beef and calling it a day. Or maybe you're throwing a dollop of Greek yogurt on there and some green beans. That's a leave it. It's not formulated, it's not balanced. I think it's a leave it. I am for raw feeding. I love it. If it is formulated to be balanced, if it is something that aligns with your preferences and your comfortability, if it is something that is formulated to meet their nutrient requirements. And so looking at the ingredients, who is creating it? How has it been designed? Is it been designed with somebody with some nutrition insights and background and education to know this is properly balanced? That's what I'm for. I love it. I have seen quite a few dogs eating, and I'm talking like actual raw food. I'm not talking about freeze-dried raw that eat raw food, commercial raw food, that these pets look fantastic. And statistically speaking, based on their breed, they shouldn't look that good because these breeds are prone to common issues. And so I have a hard time convincing these pet owners. I have a hard time convincing myself to convince these pet owners, hey, switch. And I admit, years ago, I was a veterinarian. I now think differently. I now think more non-traditional. And so I'm for it if it is formulated and balanced and it's species appropriate and you feel comfortable. And if your dog likes it and does well on it, then I'm for it. I do love it. I think that it can be a great option. It's not processed. It is pretty species biologically appropriate. Again, what I'm not saying is run out to your HEB or your Aldi or your Publix or your Whole Foods or your Sprouts or your Safeway or wherever else you're getting groceries, Costco, Sam's, and going to get some ground beef and getting some chicken and getting some chicken hearts and some liver, beef liver, and throwing it in a bowl and calling it a day. That's not what I'm saying because it's not going to meet your dog's nutritional requirements. Yes, it is way less processed than kibble food. I absolutely agree with that. And it's less inflammatory, but it's not going to get the essential nutrients that your dog needs. If your dog's not getting appropriate B vitamins, it can affect their digestion. It can affect their lymphatic system. It can affect their ability to detox. So we want to make sure that it is appropriately balanced. So if it's appropriately balanced and formulated and your dog likes it and you're comfortable feeding it, I think it's a love it. Vaccine titers. Y'all came with some spicy topics. Vaccine titers. It's a love it for me. I do. Now, I think it needs to be taken into context. When was that vaccine titer done? What was it? What are we testing? Like what against what disease or what vaccine? What is the prevalence of this disease in the area that you live, in your dog's lifestyle and your lifestyle? Is this something that we should repeat to make sure that their titer levels are staying appropriate? I'm for it. I think it's very smart to ensure if your dog has protection, we don't need to add more necessarily. And so this goes into proper immune responses. So I think vaccine titers are very valuable, especially in dogs that have a lot of inflammation, have health concerns, or your dog is healthy and you don't want to deal with those. I think it's very appropriate. I also know it's not offered enough out there, and I really wish it was offered more. I know that some vaccine titers testing, some of them are more affordable. Some of them come with a bigger investment. I like the word investment over expense because you are investing in your pet's health. So I think it's a great investment to do it. I think it's great to ask your veterinarian if they offer it. Now, I will tell you, being a relief travel veterinarian, if you do not know, that's what I do. I have been actually I was thinking about this yesterday. I really want to go through and count how many hospitals. I'm north of 80 hospitals at this point, probably flirting with like 85 at least. I know it's not commonly offered at all. And sometimes when it's offered, it's kind of scuffed at. And so I think it's worthwhile talking to your veterinarian, asking them if they offer it, for what vaccines, what diseases. And I will tell you that what I don't know is if every vaccine out there has a titer for it. What I will say is most of the diseases that we vaccinate for do have vaccine titers. I think it's a love it. Mental well-being, nervous system support. This was in relation to puppies. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. In fact, I was just doing some reading on the nervous system in dogs, and it's not talked about enough. Mental well-being, emotional well-being, the nervous system can absolutely affect your dog's digestion and their overall health. And it's kind of this infinity and how one can affect the other. I think it is so very important to focus on it. It's a love it for me. And there's a few different ways that we think about it. And so, one, of course, I'm going to plug in nutritionally because nutrition is such a paramount center of so much health. Now, it's not everything, it won't cure everything, and it has to be done correctly, but making sure the nutrition is appropriate so that gut brain access, that gut brain communication is healthy. So I think it's a very, very important topic to focus on. And there's a lot to go into this, and maybe this should be a separate podcast episode eventually in the near future about mental well-being, nervous system support for puppies. And the reason I think it was brought up for puppies is because that way those dogs have those skills and that setting, quote unquote, as an adult dog. And so I think it's very important. I think it's very important for enrichment. I think it's very important to know maybe your dog's triggers and work through them, whether it's with a behaviorist, it's looking at certain herbs, it's looking at our nutrition, how can we decrease inflammation? It's looking at the gut microbiome. Are we doing microbiome tests? Are we doing fecal transplants? I think it's very, very important. Enrichment. It's not getting a puppy and not putting in a crate and not doing enrichment. That's not going to support this dog's well-being and mental health. It is getting them familiar when they are puppies to different life stages, because this is something I learned recently is that dogs will categorize different life stages differently. Very young children versus middle-aged children to adults versus elderly, because they kind of move differently and they sound differently. And so having your puppy used to all those, getting them used to traveling, being in the car, going to the vet, playing with their paws, going to the groomers, getting all that socialization done at an appropriate age so they are used to it, and focusing on their mental health and well-being and protecting it. And that I think is done through so many different avenues. And I think that actually should be another podcast episode. I love it. I think it's very, very important and it's not talked about enough. And it needs to be talked about because your dog's mental well-being and their nervous system absolutely affects the rest of their health, very much like humans. Goat's milk bone broth. This is kind of like supplements. I'm a love it or I'm a leave it. It depends on why are you doing it? And I don't mean that in like I'm questioning you with like a flashlight, like where were you on the night of November 1st? Not like that, but what's the purpose of it? Are you doing it to add to like is it for gut health purposes? Is it adding hydration to your dog's food? I think it's great. Again, reputable source. What are the ingredients in it? It's very easy to get a bone broth, and then you look at the ingredients and it's filled with stuff that is really negating the purpose of you doing the bone broth, is really negating the purpose of you doing it for health purposes. If it's filled with a lot of inflammatory ingredients, if it's got vegetable oil or canola oil or sunflower oil, and it's got a lot of wheat in it and a lot of preservatives, then I'm probably a leave it. Now, if it's very, and I say clean with quotes, air quotes, because clean, sometimes that word is thrown around a lot. If it is very simple and ingredients that are very anti-inflammatory, very health promoting, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a great quote unquote topper to put on your dog's food. It's a great way if they're eating some form of dry food, whether it is air dried, freeze dried, traditional kibble, it is a great way to add hydration to it and to hopefully add health promoting ingredients. Same thing with goat's milk. Now, not every dog can tolerate some form of dairy. So this will maybe trial and error. Now, sometimes these are really good for gut microbiome health. So I think it is something to explore. Again, the source, the ingredients. Free feeding versus feeding 1 to 2 times a day. This is mainly a love it / leave it. Again, this is pet specific. So I love feeding 1 to 2 times a day. I'm not a big fan of free feeding. So to me, free feeding should be a leave it. However, the caveat is that for some dogs, that is the only way they eat. They like to graze. They like to eat when nobody is home. So you have to leave their food out, and they like it when it's still and quiet and there's privacy and there's peace in their home. I understand that. So what I don't want to say is free feed or meal feed your dog 1 to 2 times a day and these dogs aren't eating because fed is best. I think it is worth exploring. Can your dog eat 1 or 2 times a day? And the reason that is important is that they're having these periods of fasting, their body's natural detoxing and cleaning can go in and kind of clean up these cells that are prematurely aging or are aging and are more prone to become radical cells that become cancer or can lead to autoimmune or inflammation. So I do think that feeding 1 to 2 times a day is a love it and a free feeding is leaving it if that works for your dog. Some dogs thrive on free feeding. And in my opinion, those are the dogs, typically, not always, that are overweight and typically have health conditions. Now, there are some dogs I see that look very lean, their coats look healthy. On the outside, they look healthy and they are free feeders. I don't know what's going on the inside. I haven't had an opportunity to do tests on them to know. So I would say feeding 1 to 2 times a day is a love it. I would leave free feeding behind if that works for you and your dog. And if you were doing a feeding 1 to 2 times a day, I would say feeding a majority of the calories, like 60 to 70% in the morning and 30 to 40% at night. Again, if your dog can tolerate that, I think that's going to be best for them, to be best to help support their natural detoxing ways. If all of this interests you and you're like, gosh, I want more of this, I want to invite you to download The Truth About Dog Food. It is going to be under the show notes, whether you're watching this or listening to this, where it is a guide I myself created that goes over very similar topics: toppers, supplements, types of dog food, how food can affect their dental health. All of these topics and more in The Truth About Dog Food. It is a guide I created for a pet owner just like you, and it is extremely affordable. If you're wanting more one-on-one support, you're like, I would love to talk these specific topics with someone like yourself, me, because I have questions about my dog's specific health. My dog has allergies, and I don't know if I can give him bone broth or raw goat milk, or I want to know what supplements I can do because I'm doing all these things. I want to invite you to schedule your one-on-one nutrition consultation where we will take a deep dive into your pet's health, your dog's health, and not only just what they're eating, but we will pick apart the ingredients. We will discuss if home cooking is an option for you. If you're interested, if you were like, I like buying something, what is the best option for you and your dog? We'll look at supplements. We'll even talk about gut health. So I want to invite you to do that. So this was really fun, and I think we should do it again. So be on the lookout. If you're not following me on Instagram, my handle is @the_non-traditional veterinarian. And maybe this will be another question box I throw up, because this is really cool to see what you guys are seeing for pet trends and what you want to know. Love it or leave it.